Welcome to The Blast Zone, the podcast where we dig up the bombs that shook Hollywood and try to find out why they went up in flames. This week, to infinity and ba-bomb, this is Lightyear. Welcome to The Blast Zone.
Welcome to The Blast Zone.
We are not a podcast about bad movies. We are a podcast about movies that did badly.
That's right.
I'm Jon Drake, in-house film critic of my Letterboxd account.
And I'm Ian Dukes. I'm a person with thoughts and feelings, and some of them are about movies.
Movies like Lightyear, which we'll be talking about today. But before we get into that, Ian, how are you doing this week?
Well, last episode I joked that my doctor was going to do a test to see if I might be a human being. And a funny story, I was supposed to find out today, but I still don't know. Earlier today, about an hour before my appointment, the doctor's office called me and said, we heard a big boom over here and then the power went out and it hasn't come back, so don't come down. So we had to push back the big reveal to next week.
Well, when they went to check your scans, the pure power of your being was too great for their machines, and it
surged through the system. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, that's why you've been undiagnosed. Modern science hasn't caught up to you yet.
Yeah, that happened to Victor Von Doom when they tried to put him in the lab too. A surge of power.
Is that from the new one, or are you talking about the 2005 one? I haven't seen the new one yet.
I'm thinking of the one we did where he was making people's heads explode with surges of power. Hope no one was hurt at the imaging lab.
Hope no heads exploded that weren't scheduled to do so.
Didn't have it coming.
I've had a bit of an up and down time since the last time we spoke. The last time I spoke to the listeners. I've had some high highs and some low lows. Since the last time we recorded an episode, me and you got to hang out in person for only like the third time ever.
Yeah, that was cool.
We went to a old whaling town in Connecticut and sang sea shanties, drank beer, ate fish and chips, and it was lovely.
Sausage rolls. We had great food, great beer, some great sea shanties. They got a little body in the second set.
Little body.
But that's what they're supposed to do. It was pretty fun.
The flip side of that is that you are no longer in my neck of the woods, so we can't do that anymore.
No, it was one and done.
Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster of emotions. But I'm glad we got to do that, and hopefully we can do it again in the future.
Yeah.
Great times. And I did want to ask you, though, did you happen to watch anything you wanted to talk to the listeners about? And we didn't discuss this off mic, so I don't know what you're bringing this week.
Well, I'm going to surprise you a little bit. I did a weird thing in the year 2025. I watched Steven Soderbergh's 2011 movie Contagion for the first time. I was never interested enough the first time around when it came out. And then when it got popular during the height of the pandemic, I couldn't really stomach turning it on at that time. But this week I happened across a brand new podcast called What Could Go Wrong by the screenwriter of Contagion, Scott Z. Burns, which explores him trying to write a sequel of sorts to Contagion. I'm not sure if I'm into the podcast, but it inspired me to check out the movie. Especially he played these quotes where he and Soderbergh were describing their aim in writing it to make it more of a visceral horror movie rather than like a flashy science techno thriller. And it seems like I've just been craving more horrors in my fiction lately, which I guess is an instinct to balance out the growing horrors of the real world. Anyway, Contagion, it's not great. It's not my favorite movie, but it's pretty solid. Some of the dialogue and the performances felt kind of like dashed together, like they were maybe rough drafts and first takes, but it works overall, has a few poignant moments, some nice filmmaking flourishes by Soderbergh. Some of the people are really good in it. Kate Winslet, always love her. Jude Law stands out. And overall, I'm glad I saw it.
Jude Law's character felt ahead of its time, too, because that kind of person has become such a fixture in American news and politics. But I know what you mean about like being rushed, but that's kind of Soderbergh's way. He likes to move fast. He likes to shoot a bunch of movies in succession. And
that's true.
I don't think you're getting a lot of like sixth and seventh takes out of him in these movies, but he typically works with actors he knows he can trust. I remember Contagion being the kind of movie that didn't hit me right away. I had to sit with it for a little while, but there are some scenes that I really remember, specifically the one where Matt Damon finds out, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, fast forward about 40 seconds, but his wife goes into the hospital because she's got the flu. And then when they're telling him she died, he just like, it just doesn't register. And I was like, that's so, I don't know, it's so resonant.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but don't they even describe it as a novel coronavirus?
They describe it at least as a novel virus. They keep saying that. I don't know if they ever use the word coronavirus, but there's a lot of familiar science and medical jargon that we're now familiar with that we wouldn't have been familiar with in 2011. The movie is quite ahead of its time in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Be careful how you talk about Stevie around me. You know, that's my boy.
I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I know what you're saying. Like, you do get the impression that he made this movie fast, which sometimes it feels a little sloppy, but there's also an energy to it because of that. And his filmmaking is great. As far as it communicates this broad, sweeping story that's taking place all around the globe at the same time and flashing back and forth. It's really excellent on that level. That's something that he does amazingly well. So it's definitely a cool part of his canon.
Yeah, when I say he likes to make things quickly, I don't mean that he's taking shortcuts. It's just he's so dialed in because he never takes time off from filmmaking. Really, that muscle never atrophies. He just knows exactly what he wants and how to get those shots quickly and efficiently.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to check it out. Keep going down the Steven rabbit hole. There's lots of good stuff in there, lots of underseen movies and underloved, which I wouldn't call Contagion one of them. That's one of his bigger titles, I would say.
It got its day eventually.
Maybe a few years late, but I actually watched quite a few things that I'd be excited to talk about. I've been a movie watching fiend lately.
Nice.
I was going to talk about Eddington, which I saw in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of the coronavirus. But then I saw the box office numbers and I'm like, I probably want to cover that at the end of the year. So I don't want to say too much about it now because I have a lot of thoughts about it, but I want to wait till they're ready to be put forth to the audience in detail.
Okay.
I watched the great 2024 movie Cloud, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's crime thriller, psychological thriller. Some places have described it as horror. I wouldn't say it's horror. It's pretty grounded for the most part, but really cool. One of the movies I've seen that balances tension and payoff really well, where the first half of the movie is all build up and then when it finally pays off, it actually lives up to it, which is sometimes a difficult task.
Yeah.
But the movie I want to talk about, as maybe the internet's only Gareth Edwards stan, I did manage to get to the theater to check out Jurassic World Rebirth.
Oh, okay.
I know I've brought Fallen Kingdom and Dominion now as show and tells because I see all the Jurassic movies in theaters.
Yeah, you do.
So I wanted to continue the tradition and talk about it a little bit. And because it's a Gareth Edwards movie that we certainly will not be able to talk about on this podcast because it made a boatload of money. This is my only chance. And it's okay.
Okay.
I would say it is the best Jurassic Park movie since The Lost World, but I would also say that's relatively faint praise because most of those movies are pretty bad. Even if I find them enjoyable, I can recognize on an intellectual level that they're not good movies. It has the hallmarks of an Edwards movie where he does scale really well shot action scenes, interesting vantage points and angles. Something I thought he was really successful in is treating the dinosaurs as animals and not movie monsters, which is a big complaint I have with a lot of the more recent movies, is that they don't act the way an animal would act in that situation. They act the way like a serial killer would, where they have a vendetta against you specifically. And they're like, but these, except for the main big bad of the movie, the main bad dinosaur, they actually felt like they were just apex predators dealing with new people in their territory. And the downsides of the movie, I would say, are the script, which I was disappointed to see because I think David Koepp is usually a pretty steady hand with writing. But there was some really dodgy exposition scenes that were very obviously tell, don't show, which is a cardinal sin in the movie making world.
Yeah.
As much as I was praising his use of scale, the scale of the actual dinosaurs differs wildly from scene to scene, where sometimes they are like 3 times as big as they were in the scene before, which that's like first day shit. Come on.
That's weird.
Yeah. And I'm just not a fan of this fucking through line that's been present in all the Jurassic movies since the third one, which is we have to make mutant dinosaurs because people aren't impressed by regular dinosaurs anymore. It's like, yeah, isn't that crazy how all the zoos in the world closed after just 10 years because nobody wanted to see fucking lions up close anymore? Like, that's not a real thing. If there were real dinosaurs in the world, people would be transfixed by them for centuries.
Yeah.
What are we fucking talking about here? Why is this just an agreed upon reality that we're accepting in the Jurassic Park universe?
It's a weird statement about human nature that doesn't ring true.
All that to say, like I said, the best Jurassic movie since The Lost World for me, and something I will definitely watch again when it hits streaming because those are just nice movies to put on in the background for me. Even the Jurassic World ones that I hate. It's like sometimes if I can't think of anything to watch, I'll put one of those on because it's fucking dinosaurs. What's the downside? But yeah, that was my long-winded way of saying it's okay.
All right. That sounds like something that I will switch on myself one night when it's on streaming and I can't think of anything else.
He also included one of my favorite scenes from the original novel that didn't make it into the movie. It was storyboarded and they wanted to shoot it, but let's just say it was harder to film dinosaurs in the water back then, so they couldn't quite do it, but they moved it into this movie, which I was very happy to get that sequence.
That sounds fun.
It's pretty freaky.
Cool.
Lightyear. It's time to go to space. Let's talk about Lightyear. Ian, was this the first time you saw Lightyear when we decided to cover it for the podcast? And what do you remember about the conversation around this movie when it was released?
This was the first time. I was never interested in trying to watch it. And I was thinking about that. I think it's for 2 reasons. One of them was like, no matter how good it might have turned out as a movie, just on its face, it sounds like an IP cash grab. Like it fosters suspicion just hearing that it exists. And then as soon as I started hearing things about it, everything I heard seemed to be negative in some way or another. oh, they should have got Tim Allen. Where's Tim Allen? Or it's confusing. What's this about? The premise is weird, which are valid complaints and concerns that people had. And so that kind of sealed the deal at like, okay, this is just not worth me going out of my way. Because I don't watch a lot of Pixar, Disney stuff anyway. I don't have kids. I kind of sealed the deal. And I only saw it when we put it on the schedule.
That makes sense. I wasn't expecting you to come in here with a big history and relationship with the movie Lightyear. I, on the other hand, have two small children.
Right.
And my daughter Emily is a huge Toy Story fan. When she was younger, she would just call it Woody Buzz.
That's cute.
I want to watch Woody Buzz. I'd say, all right, which Woody Buzz do you want to watch? And she'd say, the one with the bear. And that would be Toy Story 3, because Lots of Huggins Bear is the villain of that. She had different ways of telling me which one she wanted to watch. It was like a
That's very cute.
It was very cute. But so when Lightyear came out, she was like, oh, a new Toy Story movie. Let's watch it. And we didn't make it to the theater, but we did watch it when it hit Disney Plus pretty soon after.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, like, this is a good movie, but also this is not a Toy Story movie. And
It's not.
Emily was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not for me. And I think this movie's really not for anyone, but it's good. But
yeah,
we're going to have to talk about it because they really didn't do themselves any favors with the kind of approach they took to this movie.
It is confusing on its face. It's a spin-off, which spin-offs alone are hard to make money on because they necessarily feel derivative, but it's a spin-off with a main character, and then it's not in that world of that character, so it's kind of throwing you for a loop. And I think we're going to keep coming back to the main issue of the movie is that the tone and the content are kind of muddled. And like, is it a comedy? Is it a cute Pixar emotional personal story comedy? Is it a contemporary serious thinky sci-fi piece? Is it for kids? Is it for tweens? Is it for grown-ups? And like you said, it's competently made. It's a perfectly good movie. It's like totally fine, but it lacks some spark, some specialness, and it just doesn't leave you with a lot of... Usually you come away from the good Pixar movies, you're like, dang, that's something that I have to love now. Like, this is a new piece of intellectual property that I just have affection for. And this movie is like, it was cool. It told its story, but it doesn't foster that kind of affection.
Yeah, I think this movie was made for the absolute smallest audience of any movie I've ever seen. I think it was made for like kids aged 9 to 11, just an absolute tiny window because it's a little too serious and dour for Toy Story aged kids. It's a little heavy and it doesn't quite lean into like hard sci-fi enough for teenagers or even like 12-year-olds when you start getting that itch to watch stuff you're not supposed to and you want to see stuff that's a little violent, a little more grown up. So it doesn't scratch that itch, but it's a little too much for little kids. So it's got a very narrow window that it can appeal to. And like, I think grown-ups can appreciate it because at its core, it feels almost like an old-timey adventure film, like kind of what John Carter was trying to be as well. Because it's not overly complicated, even though there are some really heady concepts in the movie. It's pretty straightforward and old-timey in that sense, but it needed a hard turn in either direction, I think, and it didn't do it.
Yeah, I think to your point, I feel like they believed that they pumped up the action enough for it to be exciting for teens and even for adults, which I think they achieved. There's some cool-looking sci-fi imagery. There's some high-energy, high-octane action. The fight scenes, where they're fighting the robots or where they're fighting the alien life forms at the beginning, they're kind of scary. They're actually dangerous, but because the movie is about Buzz Lightyear, there's a guy with a giant chin and a purple sock on his head at the center of it, and that kind of spoils the cool factor for the teens, I think.
And that's to say nothing of what probably the most common criticism of the movie is. What's the one sentence pitch of this movie? And lucky for us, we get it in the opening text scroll, which is, this is the movie that the toy Buzz Lightyear was from. And it was Andy from Toy Story's favorite movie. And it's like, sure. The fuck are you talking about, man? Like, that's not a pitch that should leave the boardroom.
Yeah, I mean, it logically explains what they're doing, but it has no emotional resonance because it doesn't actually make you think of Andy or make you imagine Andy watching it or make you imagine the world that Andy lives in where he went to the theater and saw this, because this content doesn't resemble things that happen in a Pixar movie world, and especially in a traditional one, like in the world of Toy Story, which is 1950s coded and simplified and broad strokes of family life and emotional lives of its characters. Like, this is a thoroughly modern movie. It's drawing from everything in the last 20 years that Pixar has done, that Marvel has done, that action movies and CGI movies and sci-fi movies have done. So it feels thoroughly of our world. And so it immediately breaks the illusion that this movie lives in Andy's world.
Yeah, I would say this movie's even like pretty deeply MCU coded. Yeah. Down to the fact that Captain America is playing Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, there you go.
And you've got Taika Waititi popping up. And it's got that type of humor.
It's got that humor. I feel like there's some crossover between the wisecracks in a Pixar movie and the wisecracks in an MCU movie, but they both feel contemporary. And then just the scale of the action, the complication of the action plot, which is the second half of the movie. Apparently, I don't demand it, but apparently audiences demand the action plots to be incredibly dense and complicated and weave together so many little reversals and escalations and stuff. And this movie has that feeling, like it exhausts you. It doesn't blow up all of New York City, but it exhausts you the way the action in an MCU movie does, with its denseness and its relentlessness. And they shot scenes in IMAX. Like, it was doing everything that a contemporary movie is supposed to do by the book.
Yeah, very much does not feel like a movie. And Andy was young in that first Toy Story movie when he got Buzz Lightyear. It does not feel like a movie he would have seen in theaters.
And gotten all into. Yeah. And there's 2 stinger scenes in this movie. Like, it's right out of the MCU playbook.
Can I make a confession?
Yes.
I don't watch them. That's
fine. There's nothing there. I mean, there's
I'm fucking over it, man.
It's the usual formula. The first one's a little running gag from the movie where Commander Cal loves his laser shield and a bug gets zapped by it. Just a joke. That's the pre-credits. And then the very end one is a sequel teaser. The villain's not dead. Spoiler alert.
Which clearly never came to be.
Yeah.
Captain Cal, the great Isaiah Washington Jr.
Oh, yes.
Or, as I know him, Senator Clay Davis from The Wire.
Shit, partner.
There you go.
All that being said, would you like to hear whose idea this movie was and how they got it made?
I sure would. Let's hear how this thing happened.
All right. There's a reason people don't typically ask, hey, what movie made Andy from Toy Story want a Buzz Lightyear toy? Because the answer should never be a $200 million box office bomb that tries to answer a question nobody was asking in the first place. Angus MacLane, a longtime Pixar animator, had pitched this as his dream project after co-directing Finding Dory and was finally given the green light.
What did he do? He just kept swimming.
And to be fair, the concept could have worked. A bold, pulpy sci-fi adventure with Pixar's visual standards and Chris Evans voicing the lead, these are ingredients for success. But then came the confusion. Disney announced that Lightyear wasn't about the toy we know, but about the movie that inspired the toy.
Ah yes, a heartwarming story of capitalism.
They recast Buzz with Chris Evans instead of Tim Allen, which was explained away by saying Allen voiced the toy but not the real guy. This sparked endless debate and led to the kind of brand confusion that could short-circuit a marketing campaign before it even left the launch pad. Then there was the kiss. A same-sex kiss between 2 female characters was briefly cut from the film, then reinstated following internal backlash at Disney. The scene itself is brief and respectful, but it caused the film to be banned in several countries and may have contributed to tepid international returns. Despite a jaw-droppingly high production budget and years of development, Lightyear opened behind Jurassic World Dominion and quickly fell off. It made $226 million worldwide against a $200 million production budget, which might sound okay until you factor in marketing and realize that Disney lost over $100 million on this thing.
To bankruptcy and beyond!
It was meant to be Pixar's big return to theaters after years of straight-to-streaming releases. Instead, it became a case study in how to mismanage a legacy character. Pixar took a figure known for childlike enthusiasm and turned him into a melancholic space cop stuck in a time loop plot that leans heavier into regret than wonder. Chris Evans did the best with what he had, but the character lacks the charm that made Buzz iconic in the first place. To be clear, Lightyear isn't bad. It's technically gorgeous, the performances are solid, and there are a few moments of genuine fun, but it's hard not to walk away from the film wondering who it was really for. Kids were confused, adults were indifferent, and die-hard Toy Story fans didn't find anything resembling the Buzz they remembered.
Buzz, that was utterly terrifying, and I regret having joined you.
It also eventually led to MacLane, who had been with Pixar for 25 years, to be laid off in the wake of the movie's financial failure. In the end, Lightyear wasn't just a misfire, it was a beautiful, expensive answer to a question nobody asked.
That seems unfair to Angus MacLane. He did a pretty good job making this movie.
He did a good job making this movie, and he did a good job making, 15 other Pixar movies in the 25 years he was there. Just box office hit upon hit, and then one misfire, and you're out the door. It seems harsh, and it's Disney.
It makes you think there's other forces at work. Not necessarily, I'm not casting aspersions that he did something personally offensive to get himself fired, but God, we've covered other Pixar guys who bombed terribly. We based this podcast on it.
Brad Bird, Andrew Stanton.
Those guys got chances. And this guy had a lot of talent and still does. So I'm sure he'll still do good things in his career.
If he wants to, he might be fine. He might just be chilling. He hasn't worked since this movie came out. He's been thanked in some of the credits for other Pixar movies since then. Like maybe he was involved in the conception of them, but I genuinely don't know what he's been up to.
Pixar is an interesting company. And you see it, especially in this movie, the director, and he also has some screenwriting credit on it, right?
Yeah, he co-wrote it with a guy named Jason Headley.
Okay. He's also a voice actor in it, and he's an animator. Like Pixar develops develops these people that are like stunningly multi-talented. Same with Peter Sohne, who we'll get to, who plays Socks, the robot cat.
Best part of the movie.
Yeah, it's the standout, most fun thing in the movie.
I fucking love Socks the cat.
He was like a Pixar animator and then also a voice actor and also a director. These are the kind of people that make you just angry how talented they are, because you're like, spread some talent around for the rest of us. Some leftovers, maybe.
Yeah, it might sound cheesy, but I think Pixar's just full of storytellers in every capacity. They just want to be building stuff for people and especially children to enjoy. And wow, Peter Sohne, there was 2 Pixar movies I was thinking about for this slot. And the other was The Good Dinosaur, directed by Peter Sohne.
Wow.
He also directed Elemental and The Incredibles 3, which is coming out in 2028. Wow, they took The Incredibles 3 away from Bird?
Interesting.
Bird always does The Incredibles, right? Yeah, he did Incredibles 2 and Incredibles, but Peter Sohne apparently is directing Incredibles 3. Very interesting.
Good for him. We're fans of Peter Sohne now.
Absolutely. Also, I didn't mind The Good Dinosaur. I watched that one a couple times with my son Jackson.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Pixar has ever made like a bad movie.
Yeah.
Maybe ones that don't resonate quite as much, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, the lows are really not that low. It's just that their highs are so high. It's like, dang, how do you live up to that?
Exactly. If you just graded movie studios based on average Rotten Tomatoes scores, I got to think Pixar is one of the most critically acclaimed studios of all time.
Yeah, they got to be right up there. Their hit rate has got to be high. And there's not that many people putting out classics like of the modern canon. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Up,
Wall-E.
Wall-E. Yeah, there's movies that are just like, those are it. Those are top American movies of our generation.
What's your favorite Pixar movie?
I don't know.
Is it Lightyear?
It's not, I know it's not Lightyear. That much I do know. But Lightyear was fine. I don't remember. It's been a while since I saw. Actually, the most recent ones I saw were like Wall-E and Coco. So those are high on my list of.
Both bangers.
Yeah, I was crying in both those movies. So these are doing the thing. They're making me feel the feelings. So I got to give it up.
I think I got to go Wall-E.
Okay.
For my fave. Love Wall-E. And such a bold choice to start that movie with 20 minutes of just no dialogue. For a kid's movie, it's like a very bold choice.
Incredible creative skill in pulling that off. And that's where when you think about things like that, going for it with big flourishes, big original things, and just a freshness in the best of those movies that this movie just very much doesn't have. This movie feels, I don't know if I want to say derivative, but it kind of is. It's wearing it on its sleeve. It's making its references on the screen. You can see that he's a Star Wars fan, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
We'll talk about where those things get quoted. But yeah, it just doesn't have that spark of like originality and freshness that the best Pixar movies have.
All right. We talked around the story of the movie enough. Do you want to get into the actual plot?
Yeah, buckle up. Buzz Lightyear, played by Chris Evans, is a space ranger on a science mission who veers off course to explore the uncharted planet Takani Prime. On the planet's surface, Buzz and his best friend, Commander Alicia Hawthorne, played by Uzo Aduba, encounter hostile alien vines and bugs and are forced to flee. But the vines cause the ship to crash, destroying its hyperspace crystal and marooning them on the hostile planet. Over the next year, the ship's crew of scientific experts construct a substantial base, and they exploit the planet's resources to try to produce a replacement crystal. But it's a risky project, and Buzz must fly a small solo ship on a test mission to see if the crystal works. The crystal malfunctions, and Buzz barely makes it back to the base. But when he returns, he discovers an unpleasant side effect of his near-light-speed journey, time dilation. For Buzz, the trip only took 4 minutes, but Alicia and everybody on the base aged 4 whole years while they waited for him to return. Buzz is feeling down about his failure when he meets an enthusiastic robotic cat named Socks, played by Peter Sohne, who's been assigned by Star Command to ease Buzz's emotional transition. Buzz isn't into the touchy-feely stuff, so he tells Socks to make himself useful by working on the formula for crystallic fusion while Buzz heads back out on another test flight. While Buzz completes a long string of unsuccessful test missions over the next few days of his life, many years pass for Commander Hawthorne. She gets married, raises a family, and watches her children grow to adulthood. Finally, Buzz returns from another failed flight to find his friend has died of old age. And to make the sad situation worse, the new base commander, Cal Burnside, says they've decided to cancel the hyperflight test missions and stay permanently on the planet. Buzz returns to his quarters crushed, until the cat Socks welcomes him home with some big news. In the 62 years that Buzz was away, Socks solved the formula for a stable hyperspace crystal.
Is there anything this cat can't do?
I think it's amazing.
He's the best. So the movie opens the way all great children's movies should open, with a text explanation of what the movie is about.
Yeah.
So that's what you look for.
It's a little, excuse me, we have to get this out of the way. And then there's a full 8-minute cold open before the opening credits.
Yes.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
As we were saying, you see the budget on the screen and it's some of the best computer animation you've ever seen. But it contributes to what we're talking about, the big issue, which is like the uncertainty of the tone that they're going for. There's like jokey stuff in it. They're calling the ship the Turnip, but it looks amazing. It looks convincing, like something from the best high budget serious sci-fi movie. It looks gritty, like something out of the Alien franchise, maybe.
Yeah, I immediately thought of Alien when I saw the Turnip. They're always coming up with fucked up ships in that franchise. Like it looked like one of those. Or even like something from Dune. You could see that.
Yeah, because it's a huge scale and it has that sort of used and worn and dirty technology that's the hallmark of contemporary sci-fi. But you're like not sure what to make of it because there's still Buzz in his purple and green spacesuit and that looks out of place, right?
And then the rest of the movie also seems to step back from that kind of gritty, hard sci-fi that the opening is embracing and become a little more lighthearted. Like he's joined by this entire cast of misfits in the second half of the movie. And it's like, they don't feel like the same movie.
No, they don't. That's another problem with the tone shifting. What I thought was the first half of the movie is this thinky, like Alex Garland, Christopher Nolan sci-fi movie that's like you mentioned, it's about regret and it's about loss and aging and mortality.
It's just Interstellar. All right, let's get that out of the way. He's going on these missions through hyperspace while all his friends and found family, age and die around him while he's trying to save them. That's Interstellar.
Yep.
But that's the one influence I feel like the movie doesn't wear on its sleeve. There are other times when you can see them referencing Star Wars, or like you pointed out, they reference Close Encounters.
Or 2001 was
2001, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Interstellar one kind of, they're like, don't think about that one too much.
I know, because it's obvious, but you also can't say it out loud because it's like, why are you doing this? This is weird. And it sets up, like, in my mind, that was the first half of the movie. And then I go, oh, in the second half of the movie, they flipped it. And it's about a big cartoon scary villain and giant robots. And it's a lot of crashing and banging and loud action. And that's not the second half of the movie. That's 2/3 of the, like, this plot. This plot ends 30 minutes into the movie and it feels like over an hour in. This movie is so overstuffed with plot.
I was going to make the exact same point because both times I watched it, once he lands and meets Commander Hawthorne's granddaughter and like that whole part, so I was like, all right, it's a good time to stop. It's either late at night or I got other stuff to do. I'll come back to this tomorrow and finish it up. And then I go back and I'm like, what the fuck? 133 minutes are still left? I thought I was done. I thought I was halfway done with this movie, but no.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, I like that first part of the movie a lot more than I like the second or the last 2/3.
Yeah, that's a theme of this show, that we love that Alex Garland kind of shit, that kind of sci-fi that's melancholy and makes you think and makes you vaguely sad, which is a really weird thing. He comes back and he finds his best friend dead and they're like, okay, they're trying to pull the space version of Up, where they like compact a whole bunch of shit in and then make you cry over somebody that you barely knew who's dead now. But it's just weird when it's a sci-fi version of that.
Commander Murph Hawthorne. Oh, Alicia, sorry. That's this famous scene of Matthew McConaughey. Murph!
Oh, okay. I have to admit, I never saw Interstellar. Or I started it. I think I fell asleep twice.
You're a Chastain head. I thought you'd be all about it.
I know. Is that me, though? Or is it like really long and quiet and fall asleepy kind of movie?
It is and it isn't. I'm not a big Interstellar fan. I've seen it once. And like, I made it the whole way, but didn't retain a ton. McConaughey's really good in it. And I think there are some really, like some of the best effect shots in any movie ever made are in it.
Okay.
But there are long, boring stretches. It's not my favorite Nolan.
Okay. Speaking of A-list Hollywood hunks, leading men, what do you think about Chris Evans as Buzz?
He's fine. We both had the same reaction to this was, oh, it's Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really sound like him. He's doing a bit of a voice. He's doing a bit of an affect. He lowers his register a little bit. He does sound like the Tim Allen Buzz at times.
Enough like it that you're like, okay, I can buy how this turned into a doll with Tim Allen's voice.
But how did I describe him? As a melancholic space cop? It's not super interesting. And the character itself isn't super interesting. He's surrounded by a lot of very colorful characters and entertaining people. Like we mentioned, Socks, Hawthorne, or Efren Ramirez as Airman Diaz, who's just like a character who pops up here and there. He helps Buzz get ready for his flights.
Yeah.
And he's a very winning character. But then Evans is there just kind of sulking most of the time. And it's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, it's weird. They didn't give Buzz Lightyear any actual family or backstory or anything, right? He's just this ultra upright space ranger who takes his job very seriously, which kind of sets him up as this sad person, right? Like he has his friend, Alicia, his commanding officer, and that's kind of it. So, I mean, it makes sense for his emotional struggle because he's like, my whole life, like I don't have family ties. I don't even understand family ties until the end when he comes to the realization that they're important, because he's like, it's just about the mission for me. And that's why he's psychotically focused on finishing the mission, despite the fact that it's like tearing down what little connection he had to the human human world is stripped away from him and he's just this sad loner.
And he never really goes on much of an arc. Like, the reason he's so committed to successfully completing the mission kind of changes, but his doggedness in completing the mission is always the driving force behind the narrative, even when we meet these new characters in the third act. And you could say, like, oh, would it be more poetic if he was like, maybe we should hunker down and make a life here instead of trying to get off this place?
I think we're getting to something there, is that like he evolves in that third act and makes a good and wholesome realization about what's important in life, which you want your heroes to do. But it's not really a dilemma for him because we don't feel an emotionally gripping reason why he was clinging to his mission. The cheap version of that is like he promised his dad he would never give up a mission or something like that. Like the whole time you could be like, dude, just chill out. Everyone in your world who are the members of this space mission have decided to like settle down, form a community, build a city, live lives. Just why can't you be happy? And he doesn't have a real reason, like a personal, deep emotional wound that he's nursing. He just has a creed that it's there because he said it out loud.
Yeah, if he wanted to really go the Nolan route, he could have fridged his wife or something and been like, oh, that's why he needs to bury himself in his work. Not saying that would have been a good way to go, but like, something would have been better than what we got, which is, you're right. They never really do explain why he is doggedly committed to this mission or any mission. It seems if you give him a mission, he's not gonna stop.
Yeah, it's like it's an obstacle. We get why it's an obstacle, but we don't get why it's a dilemma for him. Like he doesn't have to leave behind something that's personally meaningful to get to the better place he gets to at the end.
I didn't want to move on too fast because I don't want to brush over one of the most underutilized cameos, if you can call it a cameo, in animated history. Bill Hader is the rookie, Private Featheringhamston.
Yeah.
Which is a great name. Also, that's a very British name, though, and it's weird that he's not British in the movie.
And he could have done, I mean, Bill Hader can do any accent. He could have done it British, but he didn't. I don't know if he says 5 words in this movie.
Very strange choice, but I enjoyed him when he was there.
Yeah.
You felt bad for him.
Yes, I felt bad for the character because that was a point that actually felt icky because it was sort of part of Buzz's character that they're trying to establish at the beginning is that he doesn't trust anyone, and especially not rookies, and he doesn't want the rookie to complicate his mission. But they pretty much leave the rookie for dead until they decide to look out and notice that he's not back yet. But even the fact that they could save his life was like, yeah, but you didn't really try. Like it was just luck that you saved his life.
Yeah. No, there is a coldness that I'm not sure was totally intentional.
Yeah.
But it definitely comes through. It's in the sequence.
It's a little off-putting.
And then we should talk a little bit about Uzo Aduba as Commander Hawthorne.
Yes.
The character is very warm, charming, exudes competency, not in the way that Buzz does where it's oppressive.
Yeah.
Like somebody who understands the balance between work and life and is good at her job, but also has a life and a family. And she seems much better for it.
Yes. Thankfully, she's there. She does a nice job in a fairly small role of communicating that warmth and that humanity, which is sorely needed in Buzz's life and sorely needed in the film overall as a result of Buzz being at the center. I liked her. She did a good job. But unfortunately, because the plot is so split up, she's like in and then she's dead. And it's sad.
Yeah.
Like you do tear up because you get to hear her leaving her final words in a video recording for her best friend, who she has barely seen for the last 60 years of her life. But yeah, good performance.
It was an effective montage, too, of Buzz returning from his missions. And she's got a gray streak in her hair, and then her hair is all gray. And then the 10th anniversary, and then it's 40th anniversary. And I thought that was well done. And pretty moving by the end. And the fact that she has to leave a video message instead of saying goodbye in person is heartbreaking. But again, it's 4.
I know. Those are some solid Pixar heartstring pulling moments. So we got to give them that when they pull one of those off. It doesn't feel as natural and organic in this movie as it does in some of the other Pixar movies, but they're using all the tricks.
I think one of the reasons it doesn't connect as strongly is because it's based around an idea like time dilation, which is pretty out there. It's not based on aging, which like Pixar kids, they all had grandparents. They kind of understand what's happening in Up, or it's not based on isolation like with WALL-E. It's based on hyperspace, which
yeah,
it's a little tough to get that across.
And it's throwing that at you with these intense visual scenes that look awesome. He's slingshotting around the sun. He's gritting his teeth and with the force of will, steering his spaceship into impossible new directions. And it's just a lot of shit thrown at you. And you're exhausted after that first 30 minutes. And then the movie ramps up to be more action oriented and more crazy.
I actually really liked a lot of the action sequences in that first section of the movie. It was pretty thrilling when you think that the fuel crystal is going to explode and kill him, and he manages to eject it at the last moment. And then when it explodes, it pushes him into the right trajectory to hit those slingshots. I was like, that's a smart action scene. That's a well-conceived action sequence. But then even then, they managed to squeeze in like a joke that I thought really worked with Ivan, where she's like, say your last words. And he's like, not today, Ivan. Oh, yeah. And then she plays it back to him. She's like, if you're satisfied with this recording. And I was like, that's a good joke. Like,
that's a good joke. That's definitely one of the standout jokes in the movie. But yeah, I think, didn't Brad Pitt do the same thing in Ad Astra? Have an explosion rocket him in the right direction?
You're right. He did. Damn it. That came out first, didn't it? Don't tell me Ad Astra is an influence too. Nobody fucking saw that movie except us.
I bet Angus MacLane saw it because he's clearly a sci-fi buff.
He's a sci-fi guy. Yeah. It's even in like when you're reading about like the conception of the movie, he was like, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. So I wanted to make like a real sci-fi movie with Buzz.
And I think he indulged a little too much, throwing too many of his grown-up references and influences in there, which just muddled the whole mixture.
Definitely the best non-Socks related joke in the movie is the Ivan one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Socks gets the rest of them.
Socks gets better and better. You want to get into Act 2 where Socks starts to shine?
Yeah, when I was reading your notes, I was like, I can't believe Ian didn't talk about Socks. So I put a whole section about Socks, and then I read you put him in section 2. So I was like, oh, I'll just move my notes to that one because I was like, we got to talk about him.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. No sooner does Socks tell Buzz he knows the formula to make a stable hyperspace crystal than security officers appear at Buzz's door. With the mission canceled, they've come to decommission Buzz's robot companion. Buzz stalls the guards and flees out the window with Socks. He sneaks into the launch bay and mixes up a new crystal with the formula. With some timely help by Socks, the pair evade capture and take off on a test flight. It's a success, and Buzz returns to the planet triumphantly in possession of a stable crystal. But when he crash lands outside the base, he realizes something is wrong. A mysterious stranger helps him escape capture by an ominous yellow robot, who steals his ship and takes it up to a giant spaceship in orbit above. The stranger turns out to be Alicia Hawthorne's granddaughter, Izzy, played by Keke Palmer, who grew up in the 22 years that passed during Buzz's final hyperspace test. A lot of other things have changed too. Just a week before Buzz's return, the Zerg ship showed up and laid siege to the base, trapping the crew inside. With Izzy and a ragtag crew of junior cadets at a remote outpost, the only ones capable of saving the base. Buzz doesn't want the help of the inexperienced cadets, but reluctantly takes them on his newly commandeered ship after they're all attacked by bugs and forced to make a quick escape. But the evil leader Zerg blasts their ship and our heroes crash land on the dark side of the planet. Then they head for a nearby mining facility to find the part they need to fix their ship. Facing unexpected dangers at the mine, the group learns to trust each other and work as a team. The cadets even heroically come to the rescue when Zerg shows up and tries to abduct Buzz. Together as a team, our heroes evade and fight off a legion of Zerg's robots, while Socks fixes the ship's long-distance flight capability. But one robot manages to swipe the crystal and teleport away with it back to the mothership. And just when things seem like they couldn't get worse, Zerg himself appears, captures Buzz, and teleports him away.
Gets real low at the end of the second act, as it is technically required to do in the Pixar book of storytelling.
When that crystal gets stolen and it's actually Izzy's fault, like Buzz won't even offer her any words of comfort. She's like, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And he's like, yep.
Yeah, that was some kind of got real there for a minute.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about Socks.
Yeah.
We're being sponsored for this episode by Bonobos. Are they the Socks people?
Who makes maybe.
The socks? No, we don't have any sponsors.
Oh, Bombas is the Socks.
Bombas. Yeah, those are the Socks people. Bonobos is shoes?
Or clothes or something. I don't think I own any of their stuff, but I do have some Bombas. They're the kind of things you get for Christmas gift because they're too expensive to buy yourself.
That's facts. So we've talked a lot about Socks, but let's get into the nitty gritty. He's the best and I love him. I don't really understand why the mission being over means they have to kill Socks.
No, it was kind of artificial drama, but it did make for some excitement. And even if they had to kill Socks, why would the security officers immediately draw guns on Buzz Lightyear, one of the most respected people in the base?
I guess we find out that Socks is a little more than meets the eye, and he's got some capabilities that we and also Buzz weren't aware of, but maybe these security officers were, and that's why they're a little on edge, but it's not well explained why he's in danger in this scene. But I was very happy that Buzz decided to protect him and save him because the movie would have been pretty lame without Socks.
Yeah, Socks keeps getting better. His jokes are the ones that consistently work and they consistently get funnier. Like he has a bit that he does, which is like talk his computer noises, right? Like he's a robot.
Meow, 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 meow. Like he spins in a circle and just says meow, 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 meow.
Yeah, and he says beep, boop, and he says all these things in this funny matter-of-fact tone instead of making R2-D2 noises, and you don't get tired of it because he's really good.
And he also does like cat stuff sometimes. times too.
Yes.
But even he seems confused by the cat stuff. Like when Izzy's like rubbing his belly.
Yes.
He's like, what are you doing to him? She's like, he likes it. And he's like, Socks, do you like that? He's like, yes, I do. But he seems like surprised. No one had ever done that to him before.
That's
like
right.
when he's chasing the laser pointer. That's all great stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm aware I'm being manipulated and every time Socks is on screen, but I don't care. Like
No.
when it works, it works.
No, I was saying, like, if we leave our listeners any real compelling argument to watching this movie, it's to see Socks. Do it for Socks.
He's plucky and adorable. I wish he was real and I could own him. Can you really own Socks? You really just cohabitate with him. He's far smarter than I'll ever be. But speaking of Izzy, let's talk about Izzy a little bit. So when I think of Keke Palmer, I think of like an adult, right?
Yes, she is an adult woman.
She's an adult woman who's been in, like, this is the same year she was in Nope. But she's playing such a childlike character that I thought it was a little bit of a miscast.
I think Nope is probably the only other thing that I had seen her in. I knew she was a name going into Nope, and I saw Nope, and I'm like, oh, she's really good.
She's in Hustlers, too. She was good in that.
Okay. Yeah, so she's played a lot of really grown-up roles, and this is not that. This Izzy is supposed to be, what, like 22, 24, something in this. So it's not like she's playing a child, but it's a very innocent young character.
Yeah, I don't feel like she reads 22. Even the way she's drawn is more teenager. She's naive because she's grown up on this kind of isolated space outpost.
Right.
And it makes her read like more of a teenager.
Yes, I agree. She does read young. But I don't think it didn't feel like it didn't work. Like Keke Palmer pulled off a youthful sounding character and all the sentiments she was expressing. It's only if you know Keke Palmer and you're picturing her in her other roles that you're like, what is she doing?
Yeah, that's the part I couldn't shake because I'm a Keke Palmer fan. I don't know.
You're just trying to box her in. You just
trying to box her in.
You didn't want her to stretch out and try other things.
Yep, you nailed it. That's my main gripe with Izzy, but also the ragtag bunch of cadets. They're a strange band.
They're rather strange.
Got an elderly parolee who seems to be a little bit of a, what's the explosive version of a pyromaniac?
Yes, an explosion maniac. Yeah, they have random quirky character traits. And also they're like, does the elderly one have a name? I don't know if either one of them have a name. Buzz literally has to meet 3 new characters in the second half of the movie. And they only really decide like, we only need to learn one of their names because 3 is too many.
I cannot vouch for the fact that they say any of these names in the movie, but they have names. Taika's character is Mo Morrison.
Okay.
And Dale Souls, who plays the elderly woman, is Darby Steele.
Okay. I'm sure they did not say that.
Has anybody's shtick aged faster and gotten stale faster than Taika Waititi's, though?
What's his shtick? That he's from New Zealand?
Yeah, well, just a little guy. Like, I'll say a little joke under my breath.
That's good. I don't know. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at your quick and dirty imitation of it. So there's something to it.
I think I really felt it in the new Thor movie, the newest one, Love and Thunder.
Okay.
Where it was like, I think people really liked his character in Ragnarok. And his takeaway from that was like, he should be in every scene. And I don't think Taika Waititi works as like I'm going to be in every scene, at least when he's doing his thing. I'm sure he could do a dramatic turn if he tried. I'm just a little burnt out on Taika.
And you know what? They made it harder on him in this movie because that character, who in my mind shall remain nameless, is actually this really clumsy literal plot device because almost everything that goes wrong for this group happens because he does something clumsy. Like in every scene and every encounter and sequence, it's on him. And they actually call it out because at one point he breaks down. He's like, I'm the one who fucked everything up so far in our journey together. But it's actually annoying the way that they literally like put it all on one guy, just like hitting something with his elbow and ruining a good thing.
I will say one bit in this section of the movie that worked for me was the meat sandwich.
Yeah, meat sandwich was a good joke.
Because he was like, when's the last time you had a sandwich? That's too much bread.
Yes. Funny.
And like a little like zany. It's very out of nowhere.
I have to give that a lot of credit because that is not only like a zany joke, but it's a zany joke in the sci-fi world of the movie, which is about large spans of time occurring in a man out of place and out of his own time. And they pulled off a really funny, zany joke that's like a visual gag. It's got a bunch of verbal gags in it. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, the joke is in the future, a sandwich has meat on the outside with one piece of bread in the middle. And that's normal for them. And Buzz is freaking out. It's like, what's up with this mess? This gross sandwich. They're like, what are you talking about? 2 pieces of bread with meat in the middle? That would be so dry. Who would eat that? It's a good gag.
It made me question, I'm a big sandwich guy. It made me question some things about sandwiches that I've always accepted as fact.
I'm an open-faced sandwich guy. I got that from my dad, who's a real old world European guy. And like,
so you don't like sandwiches because open-faced sandwiches are not sandwiches.
I love both kinds. I love all kinds. I love inside-out sandwiches. I'll eat anything that answers to the name sandwich. If I say, hey, sandwich, come over here, and it comes over, I'm eating it.
I think an open face sandwich is actually a pizza.
It might be, but I
think
would
it's a
want
pizza,
like a
right?
blowtorch to melt that cheese a little bit before I call it a pizza.
That's fair. Is it a soup, salad, or sandwich? No, we're not doing that debate. I almost got kicked out of a restaurant in Montana because me and my family were loudly debating what foods were soups and salads or sandwiches. And I reject the premise that all foods are one of the three. You know, and that was my argument. I was like, what about ravioli? Like, I think dumpling should be a type. You have another type for dumpling.
Please don't forget dumplings. Love a dumpling.
But that's neither here nor there. This is also the section where we really start to see some of the influences pay off, like the look of hyperspace. You called out 2001. I also got some Speed Racer vibes from that scene.
Yes.
I don't know if that was an influence per se, but yeah, it definitely reminded me of it.
Or maybe the Wachowskis were influenced by 2001 and put those sort of color things. But there's one moment when he finally reaches hyperspeed. It's mostly sort of rainbow swirls coming at him, but for a second, it turns into rainbow rectangular planes, which I remember very clearly is something that Bowman or whoever it is sees in that visionary part of 2001. And I remember that because I cut that out and edited it into my movie, Space Squabble 50,000 BC, back in my teen years. And so I have that image.
What I wouldn't give to see that movie. Do you still have a copy?
I might. I gotta dig it up. I think my buddy converted it to DVD at some point, but then I may have lost that DVD. I don't know.
God damn it, Ian. If you can't find that, I'm gonna be so disappointed. Also, the 2001 hyperspace was referenced in another movie we covered, Spaceballs, when they go plaid.
Oh, yeah.
That was their take on instead of colorful triangles, they went earth tones and plaid, which I thought was pretty funny.
So, yeah, you don't blame MacLane for drawing all these things in. When you first see Zurg, he's coming out of a pod the way we meet Darth Vader, I think, in Empire Strikes Back, right? Is it like you don't see his face?
We know he's all fucked up. That's all we know.
And then there's definitely a direct quote when Zurg is chasing down their ship and he's trying to target on them. That's the freaking TIE fighter targeting computer that Darth Vader uses in Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah, and you could even say it might be a stretch, but when Buzz first meets him and he goes, Dad, that could be a Luke Vader thing. You called out also Socks projecting Alicia's hologram the same way that R2-D2.
Oh, yeah. Alicia is Princess Leia in that, where she's like a hologram and she's literally doing that same thing where she leans over, like reaching out with her finger to stop the recording, just like Leia does. So,
hey, can you do me a favor and watch Andor soon?
Okay. Are there references I need to see related to that?
A hologram like that plays a huge role in
Oh, neat. Andor
it's the best show.
I gotta see it. I loved season 1 so much, and it's dumb that I'm waiting so long to watch season 2.
I can't decide which one I like more. I think season 2 starts slow. There's a lot of filler in the first 3 or 4 episodes, but by the end, it's just like a mad dash to the finish line, and it's crazy and intense and
awesome.
So good.
I gotta watch it, and then I'll bring it in and let people know for show and tell how much I liked it.
Yes, please. All right. Should we head to the final act, or was there anything else from this section we had to talk about?
I think we talked about a lot. Let's see if we can maybe fly back to our home planet or decide not to and stay here and just live our lives.
Who knows?
While Izzy and the cadets sit around feeling defeated on the planet's surface, up on the orbiting ship, Zurg tells Buzz his big secret. Zurg isn't actually a robot. He's an elderly Buzz Lightyear from an alternate timeline. He traveled far into the future and brought back a bunch of high technology and the knowledge of how to travel backwards into the past. Zurg Buzz tells Buzz that they need to go back in time to prevent the original crash landing that stranded the crew on the planet in the first place. But Buzz disagrees. He doesn't want to undo the full life that his friend Alicia lived, and he doesn't want to erase the existence of Izzy and his new friends, the cadets. So Zurg Buzz turns on Buzz, and they clash, fighting each other back and forth through the ship in an escalating series of reversals. Meanwhile, the cadets make their way onto Zurg's ship, and Izzy overcomes her fear of space to come to Buzz's aid just when he needs her most. As Zurg's ship self-destructs, our heroes are blown out into space, with Zurg himself hurtling after them. Buzz makes the choice to sacrifice the hyperspace crystal in order to blast Zurg into space. Then he flies off to help his friends. Buzz, Izzy, and the other cadets work as a team to bring their disabled ship down to a safe landing on the planet's surface. Now back at the base, Commander Cal gives Buzz the chance to begin training a new crop of space rangers, and Buzz says he's already found his team. In the final moment, we see Buzz, Izzy, Socks, and the cadets blast off as a new generation of space rangers.
I have a qualm.
What's your qualm?
I am sick and fucking tired of old-ass actors being cast to play slightly older versions of characters whose voices we are very familiar with.
Okay.
Why is Bob Saget the grown-up version of a 30-year-old man in a fucking show, How I Met Your Mother? Voices don't change that much. You sound like what you sound like.
I like how your examples are the movie Lightyear and the show How I Met Your Mother. And these two things have bookended your age for the last 20 years.
I just needed one more example and I was ready to unleash it. And Lightyear gave it to me and now I'm mad.
But it's funny. I don't feel like I have a strong opinion one way or another, but I liked James Brolin as a voice actor in this. I liked his old man voice.
Sure.
I thought at first I didn't realize that was him. I had misread the cast list and I thought it was a younger guy doing an old guy voice. And I'm like, whoever's doing that voice is doing an effective old man voice because he sounds like an old man. And I'm like, oh, it was an actual old man. So maybe I'm taking the opposite side of this argument that I believe that there is a sophisticated nuance that only an old man can produce.
You know what? You're right. There's probably no way to know for sure whether or not Chris Evans would be able to portray an old version of himself. That hadn't happened in any recent movies right before this one fucking came out. So there's no way to be sure. We might as well just hire James Brolin and add another $6 million to this movie's budget or whatever the fuck they paid him for this.
They were like, Chris Evans, can you do an old man voice for us? And he said, no, I don't think I will.
All right. I'm glad you're picking up what I'm putting down. All right. I'm done qualming.
All right. That's a nice, harmless argument. We'll ask our audience to weigh in on the young guy is old guy or recast debate.
The How I Met Your Mother one, though, really bothers me because that's like not that far in the future. That's like 20 years down the line.
Yeah, that's just weird. But I could never get into that show. So I'm like, I expect it all to be dumb and weird. And that's fucking Bob Saget. What am I supposed to make of any of that? I don't know.
Yeah. Also, he's just sitting down as kids to be like, all right, I'm going to tell you how I met your mother. But first, it's important for you to know that in my 20s, I was just knee deep in pussy.
Yeah,
Here's a fucking parade of all the bitches I slayed. It's like, Jesus, dude, these are your children.
The whole premise is fucked. That's why I rejected that show out of hand.
I liked parts of it.
Okay.
I'm not the laugh track guy typically, but I thought that one was one of the better ones. But yeah, you can keep your friends in Big Bang Theory. No, thank you, sir. We kind of touched on this earlier, but yeah, there are some big dilemmas happening here in the last act that are good, but I thought didn't always feel of a piece with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, there may be a little bit just forced in there. Obligatory. Buzz acknowledges that he needs help from Izzy specifically, and it's played like that's a big realization moment, but I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was a problem, that he couldn't ask for help from her, or that he thought, like, sort of like, oh, I'm not my grandma. He's like, I know, I need your help. It's like, okay, that has the emotional flavor of a big realization. It's supposed to be a big coming together for them, but I just didn't feel like they were really separated before that point, that was like a big thing they were getting over. And likewise, Izzy has that smaller personal growth plot where she has a space phobia and she has to get over it to help Buzz. But that was just like something that they mentioned in the first act and then she has to deal with it in the third act. But it didn't seem to be like causing her problems throughout the rest of the movie. So it was also just like a small to medium third act moment for me.
Yeah, they're trying to give everyone like a bit of an obstacle to overcome in this final act, but some of it feels a little shoehorned.
Yeah, and that the overall themes are good. I wrote some other notes about the themes. I feel like the final thesis of the movie is stop living in the past, stop regretting the way things turned out, just live in the now and appreciate what you have. And also for Buzz, it's choose people over his mission, which are all, those are like good, wholesome things. And they're fine for this movie. But like the one super advanced move, and maybe it's unrealistic to ask, is that some of these themes would have hit home in the end. And as an audience member, you would go, oh, that thing that just happened, that's why Buzz is so meaningful to Andy, a character that I know from other movies and love, and I could link that back in, but that's like kind of bonus points, and this movie wasn't even close to achieving those.
Yeah, I think old Buzz would have been an opportunity to tie it closer to the Toy Story franchise in terms of the fact that we don't really know what happened to Andy's dad as far as I know, but we know he's not around. Maybe like absent fathers could have been something to tie the two characters together.
There you go.
It doesn't have to be old Buzz, but it could have been something referenced in Buzz that could have also explained his kind of dogged commitment to his mission and kind of rejection of personal attachments.
Yeah. And there's something about Andy growing up and ditching his attachments to the things of his youth. But yeah, it didn't connect. They were just two separate things. And I think that's part of what leaves you feeling a little bit hollow.
And then the action is well conceived, well shot, drawn, rendered. I don't know.
Rendered is a good word. I like that one.
But it has the same problem for me that a lot of action movies do in the final big action sequence, which is that it's fatiguing.
Yeah.
And I find myself losing interest after 10 minutes of nonstop chase scenes and fight scenes. But I find it even more fatiguing when it's in animated film rather than live action because there's just less tangible things to hold on to.
Yeah. It's like how many times can the bad guy go down and pop back up and get the advantage again? And the good guy is hopeless and he gets out of it and gets worse.
Yeah, this fucking Zerg guy comes back like 3 or 4 times. And by the time he lands on Buzz's spaceship, I was like, come the fuck, can we move on? Can we give them like another dilemma now?
Yeah.
Something's wrong with the ship maybe. I don't need to see this old ass Buzz fighting this young Buzz anymore.
Yeah, and then you think he kills him, and then at the very end of the credits, they're like, nope, he's going to keep coming back.
If you say so, man. So that's Lightyear. You want to see where some of these dudes ended up, and ladies?
Yeah,
people?
Let's hear what happens to the filmmakers and the actors.
All right. Like we mentioned, written and directed by Angus MacLane. This was his solo directorial debut. He co-directed Finding Dory with, drumroll please, our boy, Andrew Stanton.
There you go.
John Carter, director himself.
Andrew Stanton of Mars is his full name.
I believe so. MacLane had been an animator on every Pixar film from 1998's A Bug's Life to Toy Story 3 in 2010. And then he transitioned to having more of a role on the story development side for Pixar with WALL-E.
Interesting.
Got laid off in 2023, hasn't worked on anything since. He's clearly got talent, though. I'd like to see what he does next.
Yeah, he'll do good things.
Maybe like a hard grown-up sci-fi movie, I think he would actually be really good at.
Yes, but it's claymation.
Oh, Jesus. His co-writer was Jason Headley. He doesn't have a huge resume, but he wrote another Pixar bomb, Onward. Onward lost more money than this one did, but it also was released right before a bunch of movie theaters shut down for COVID-19, so it's hard to say what it would have done. Yeah, it's one of the, like, that and like Tenet. I get some emails from people like, when are you going to cover Tenet? And I'm like, I don't know if we can cover Tenet. It came out in the middle of the pandemic.
We could if we wanted to.
We could do whatever the fuck we want, yeah.
I'd be interested to revisit that movie at some point. Like, it's a challenge. I'm not like, oh yeah, that's easy one to like tee off. It's like a hard film to watch and understand, and probably even harder to try to talk about it smartly, but be interesting.
Hard to understand literally. That's what I remember. Yeah. I had to watch with subtitles on. Nolan was in that period of his career where he was like, I don't want my characters to be intelligible at all.
No.
So
put on this mask and talk backwards and see if anyone can understand a goddamn thing you said.
Do you feel in charge? So Headley has only written one other movie, and it was a live action movie, which he also directed, called A Bad Idea Gone Wrong, like a heist crime thriller. Got decent reviews. He's written and directed a ton of his own shorts, but not really sure what he's up to next. He doesn't have any credits on the horizon as far as IMDb is concerned.
Well, let's keep our eyes open and mention it when a movie of his comes out sometime in the future. See what he's doing.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about Chris Evans. He was coming off his massively successful tenure as Captain America. That wrapped up in 2019. He stole the show in 2019's Knives Out.
Yeah.
But then he only did cameos between that and Lightyear.
Okay.
Which is a while. That's 3 years. He would follow up Lightyear with the critically reviled Gray Man with Ryan Gosling and Ana de Armas, if you remember.
Yes. I also reviled that movie.
But then he reunited with Ana de Armas in the also critically reviled Ghosted for Apple TV, which is not a real movie.
Yeah, maybe even worse than Gray Man.
He would then star in the critically reviled Pain Hustlers, before a well-received cameo in 2024's Deadpool and Wolverine. Spoiler alert, as Johnny Storm, which I thought was an inspired choice.
That was fun. That was a good little part.
Unfortunately, his next movie would be the critically reviled box office bomb Red One.
Oh my God, I didn't know he was in Red One. That's the Santa Claus action thriller?
He's the star of Red One, yeah. Oh, he's the guy.
I thought that was a Rock movie.
It's a two-hander with him and The Rock, but I would say by the end, Evans is the main character.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's weird.
Yeah, and then in 2025, he starred in a movie that was not critically reviled. It was The Materialists with Pedro Pascal and Dakota Johnson. And he will be in the upcoming Honey Don't from Ethan Coen, starring Margaret Qualley and others.
Oh, that sounds kind of good.
Yeah, it's coming out pretty soon, I think, mid-August. And then he will apparently return as Captain America in Avengers Doomsday. They're just bringing the whole gang back because this whole Phase 5 thing isn't working out.
Oh, God. That sounds like a mess.
It's going to be a mess. Yeah, I haven't seen Fantastic Four yet, but I understand there's some teasers in there for the next chapter.
But people are saying that it's really good, though, isn't it? Like, it's not a
I've heard mixed things. What I've heard from most people is that it's not quite as good as Thunderbolts, but it's certainly better than a lot of the other stuff we've gotten recently.
Okay.
And I did like Thunderbolts a lot.
Thunderbolts was pretty good, but also it didn't do that well at the box office, did it?
No, it ended up losing a little bit of money eventually. It doesn't look like Fantastic Four is going to lose any money, though. I think it's gonna clear.
Oh, does that mean we're going to bring Thunderbolts on here next year?
We could for sure. There's going to be quite a few movies to pick from. I've already planted my flag on Eddington that I think we should talk about that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely down for that.
Yeah, I think you'll like Eddington. And then Palmer, she broke out, like I mentioned, in 2019's Hustlers, and then starred in 2022's Alice, which I haven't seen, but I should. After Lightyear, she starred in Nope and Under the Boardwalk. And then in 2025, she starred with SZA. We love SZA. Great artist. Didn't know she was an actor, but they've been in a buddy comedy together called One of Them Days.
Oh,
Gotta check that out. And will next appear in The Pickup and Good Fortune.
Okay.
So she's working steadily. She's great in Nope. Not a bad performance in The Bunch in Nope.
Yeah, that's a movie I have to go back to. I only saw it the once, which was pretty soon after it came out, and it left an impression on me. But I felt like there was so much more to pick up on and understand in that movie that it really deserves going back to.
The birthday party scene is it's not a gory scene, but it's like a scene that when I'm falling asleep at night, sometimes it just creeps in.
Oh, no, that sounds disturbing. Yeah, that was rough. Chilling.
But I ditched work to go see Nope in the middle of the day on a random Tuesday.
Oh, neat.
That was a fun day. I really like that movie. I don't think Jordan Peele hasn't made a bad movie.
No, he's a pretty good filmmaker.
And Ian, do you want to know what we're covering next episode?
Yes, I do. I'm gonna watch it, and then we're gonna talk about it.
I'm excited for this one. We've talked about this director in the past. We've covered a movie he's made, and unfortunately, it comes with a little bit of baggage. So I've been kicking this one down the road for a while, but I think it's time to get back in the ring. I want to talk about 2005's Serenity, the big screen adaptation of the show Firefly, created by Joss Whedon, starring Nathan Fillion, who is tearing it up as some kind of Green Lantern figure in the new Superman movie.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I do like it when Fillion pops up and stuff. Didn't he pop up in Guardians? That last Guardians movie is something really funny too.
Yeah, it seems like him and like James Gunn and him and Joss Whedon as well have a big working relationship. But yeah, we'll get to talk about, wow, a lot of the faves are in this one. Alan Tudyk.
Oh, nice.
We love some Tudyk.
Yeah.
Adam Baldwin, who we all love deeply.
Sure. Why not?
Nothing problematic there. No issues with Adam Baldwin. Seems like a normal, cool guy. How much do you know about Adam Baldwin?
I'm going to find out, I suspect. I don't really know what distinguishes Adam from his brothers, but I'm going to learn.
Is he related to them? I don't know if he's related to them.
Oh, is he not one of those bald ones?
I don't think he's one of those bald ones. No, he's not.
Oh.
He's just a guy.
Oh, this is a whole other guy. Okay. No, I don't know this. I assumed he was part of the clan, but clearly off base there.
No, he might be. Just not the one you mean.
Yikes.
He's that kind of guy. He was in Full Metal Jacket. He was in The Patriot. He's been in a bunch of stuff. You'll know his face when you see him.
Yeah, I just Googled his face. I'm like, that looks like a guy who plays dickheads and bad guys.
Yeah, or at least like the antagonist on your team of good guys.
Oh, okay.
The one asshole on your team.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the role he occupies most often. Oh, and he was in Independence Day. He's the guy who shot the alien through the glass.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
when the alien's choking the release me scene?
I remember something like that.
Yeah, he shoots him through the glass. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm rambling because I'm on medicine because I'm under the weather. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe to the pod. We like when you do that. It makes us happy and it helps people find the show. And people have been finding the show lately, so keep up the good work.
Yes.
We've been gaining listeners.
Thank you for everyone who's joining, everyone who's helping other people discover us. It's a very positive thing.
Yeah, we're really happy with the turnout lately, so keep it up, and so shall we. You can also follow us on Twitter at BlastZonePod, Blue Sky, BlastZonePod.bluesky.com. You can email us if you have any movie suggestions, feedback, questions, criticisms. Just keep it constructive.
Please.
That's BlastZonePod@gmail.com. Other than that, we'll see you next time in the Blast Zone.
See you next time in the Blast Zone.
The Blast Zone.